Joute, hein, vous ne m'envoyez.
I'll give you fair warning, stranger. Turn around and get out of here unless you want to end up like this treacherous filth.
He throws a kick into the ribs of a nearby corpse.
Ça s'appellerait pas Stimley.
What they did deserved a lot worse than what they got.
Cacher les
Lot were
ensorceleurs.
sorcerous sympathizers. Good magisters died thanks to the one they were hiding.
He gestures around at the Voidwoken wrought destruction in the area.
They forced our hand. We've got to do whatever's necessary to hold the rot at bay.
T'as pas un rond sur toi. Tu sers à rien. Tu ne sers à rien.
Fool, you could have just walked away.
Ah, Ifan a déverrouillé. Héros. Yes. Bon, eh ben écoute, bonjour. Vous êtes beaucoup en fait? Guetteur silencieux. Ah, mais il a ramené ses potes là en bas, d'accord. Oui, bah c'est pas très grave, on va lui pourrir la gueule. Alors. Il y a rien. Bonjour.
Can you untie me? Please.
Oui.
Thank you.
Her tear-stained cheeks quiver as she surveys the blood-spattered floorboards.
It's like a bad nightmare. Except you never wake up. Over here.
The young man grunts as he fruitlessly tries to free his hands from the heavy knotted rope.
Thanks.
On le libère.
He looks to his slain brother's body, his eyes well with tears, though none break free.
We didn't deserve this. We didn't deserve any of this.
Gratte bordel. Ok. Elise.
The bereaved father weeps uncontrollably.
Rosa,
The
Idonia.
grieving mother manages a thin smile, even as tears stream down her ruddy face.
Thank you, stranger.
She blinks out more tears, then rubs them away with the back of her hand and puts on the bravest of faces.
To lose a child, it's a mother's worst fear. I never imagined. It's true. What the Magister said, I mean. My brother's boy Gideon. He's got source in him. Now that his folks are gone, we've all he's got. He's been staying with us. We thought we could keep him safe. He's not got a spot of malice. He can't help who he is. But when the Magisters came snooping, he panicked. We all did.
Normal.
She glances at the Magister corpse and shivers. Another tear drips down her cheek.
Shouldn't have let that Hanag woman near Gid. She said she could teach him. But that's when all the trouble started.
À quel point elle est courageuse d'être prête à sacrifier au stand.
Her mouth falls open, but she does not respond. Instead, she shakes and
C'est
sobs.
complètement con.
As soon as the Magister fell, Gid knew what he'd done. He didn't even struggle when they dragged him away. Gods know where they took him.
Je vais essayer de vous le retrouver.
I've already lost more than I can bear today. I pray to the seven I haven't lost him too.
Je vais aller le chercher. Hop.
You will? Oh, bless you. Bless you.
She ekes out another thin smile.
Make sure he's safe. And if you can, bring him back to me.
Je vais faire mon possible. Bonjour. Bonjour.
They don't pay me to talk. Move along before you find out what they do pay me.
Putain, je les aime vraiment pas. Ah, putain, il fait une sauvegarde sauvage. Absolument parler à son chef. Non.
Suspicious, he examines the document. On realizing it's real, he hands it back, then stands to attention.
I apologize. I didn't know. Admission granted. You, there, guard. Admission granted.
Dénoncé pour obstruction au bon déroulement de votre mission. Non,
Relieved, he gives you a stiff salute, eyes forward.
Ok. Du coup,
He stands
causes?
to attention and salutes.
très bien. Tu causes pas. Ok. Toi là.
He gives you a blank look. Then he raises his hands as if holding a crossbow, points it at you, and pulls the trigger. A mirthless smile spreads across his face, but it does not reach his eyes. He drapes one hand on the hilt of his short sword and gives you a tired look, a look that says, "Try me." He turns towards you, then he breathes deeply through his nose, his tongue extended, as if he were tasting the air.
Since when does rape hire mercenaries? The sorcerer is trapped in the cellar beneath the house. He's dropped one magister, but he won't drop another. We don't need you, man. Seen a wound before, have you, Merc? That blade was touched with sauce. Gilgallion suffered before he died. Between you and me, he went a little mad. That was no ordinary blade. That was a sorcerer's weapon. Don't tell me you care, mercenary. He's a sorcerer. If the Inferno takes him, then justice is done. He only has himself to blame. Now, why would you say that?
He gives you a long look, unblinking, his breathing steady. His tongue protrudes from between his lips.
Sorcerer.
Allez, parfait. Je commence à aller. Chevalier, ok. Bonjour.
The man brandishes a sword, ready to fight. A curious weapon, simple but weighty. It seems out of place in the hands of a simple worker, if that's what he is. You have your doubts, for the sword exudes an evil power.
Back, Magister, or I'll cut your guts for ribbons like I did the last fella. The Magisters are dead. What? All of them? And you did that? I don't know whether to thank you or fear you. You have them. And with that, I shall leave.
Attends, déjà. Ok, t'as rien.
What do you
2 secondes.
want?
Juste parler en fait.
He gives you a long, cool look, then relents. He flicks the sword over and offers it to you, hilt first. It's a simple weapon, well made and well maintained. It's clean, but it feels tainted. The sword feels good in your hand, in a sickly sort of way. You'd rather be at this end than the other.
May I go?
Oh oui, bien sûr. Lui couper la main avec la lame.
He gives you a stiff salute, then climbs the ladder to face his destiny.
Ok, déjà, qu'est-ce qu'il en est de cette épée? Oh, nouvelle. Putréfaction. Ok.
The thought occurs. The Magisters have strayed from the path of Lucian.
Une pensée s'impose soudain à vous, les magistères se sont écartés du chemin tracé par Lucian. S'écarter du chemin, c'est une chose, mais là, ils se sont perdus dans la nature et se sont pris le pied dans un piège à ours. Ils ont pris le parti des forces obscures. On pourrait presque admirer leur dévouement, pour autant qu'on puisse admirer une meute de babouins vêtus de capes rouges, bien sûr. Ah putain.
Were they ever on it?
Ah, j'imagine qu'à la base, ils le pensent, en fait.
That's what happens when you give any few people too much power. Goes straight to their heads, and it's the common folk that pay the price.
Nothing like a zealot to get the message wrong. Sometimes I think the people who make the most ruckus are the ones who don't really get it deep down.
This was my father's house.
He sighs.
Well, there's nothing left for me here.
If he were the crying type, he'd shed a tear, but that doesn't seem to be his way. You leave him to it.
Stop! Stop, it's getting tighter! Cecil, ah! Cecil, get it off!
I can't, sir. I think it's getting tighter.
Ah, ça sent le collier, ça.
A purple-faced Magister claws at an organic breastplate.
Ah, oula.
His comrade tries desperately to open it, but to no avail. It's bound by thin vines, burrowing into flesh.
He put it on. He weren't meant to put it on.
It's eating me! It's... Ah!
The breastplate, it grew out of a dead bloody elf, but Herman wouldn't listen. I asked him about this artifact we had, a spore. He muttered at it in Elven and it bloody burst. Next thing, the elf is sprouting vines and this grows out of his corpse.
Cecil!
Divine alive! Please, can you help?
The breastplate writhes, tendrils pressed tight into flesh. The Magister's eyes roll wildly.
It's whispering. Make it stop, make it stop! Ah!
The Magister recoils, pulling against you. You try to keep...
Merde.
What are you doing?
You've killed him! You've bloody killed him!
C'était pas voulu, déjà. Ok.
The spirit urgently passes a hand across the spines, whispering each tome's title as she comes across it.
No, it isn't here. This is impossible. You, my brother, help me find it. There is little time. This is no time to feign ignorance, my friend. The Doctor's arrogance may end us all. He has released a dark presence upon us. It must never sing the taming. The hymnals must be destroyed. And yet, I see no sign one was ever here. You must help me look.
Her hands fan furiously across the tomes, like a pianist's upon the keys.
Fait son temps. Le truc d'enfoiré. Je crois que je l'ai comme bouquin.
You must be feverish. I can't explain why you seem so ignorant, child. I would not be surprised if sickness... Now be silent. Your questions vex me, and I have no time for idle chatter.
She hushes you with an index finger held to her own lips, and continues her search.
T'exécuteras personne, sac à merde.
Sorcerer. You know where your mistress is, and I know you know it, so talk.
I don't know where Hanag's gone. I'd tell you if I did. I swear on my father's grave.
Oh, he swears. Did you hear that, everyone? He swears. Why, that's almost as good as a pinky promise.
The White Magister swiftly pivots towards you and draws his blade.
Did you come for the show, then? Good timing. The interrogation scene is over, so we're almost at the climax.
Tu as buté les parents de Gareth.
Well, aren't you just a walking encyclopedia
Je vais
of
t'étriper.
knowledge? I took no pleasure in it, but when Dallas wants it done, it gets done. If not by my hand, then another's. Poor Gareth. The order was never for him. His conscience is too strong. He'd rather be good than right.
Ah, c'est intéressant ça. Pauvre Gareth, il n'a jamais été taillé pour l'ordre divin. Il a trop de principes. Il préfère être du côté des gentils plutôt que des vainqueurs. Donc en fait, un gradé de l'ordre avoue qu'en fait, il fait partie des méchants. Que l'ordre est un truc d'enfoiré en fait. Intéressant. C'est peut-être les vainqueurs, mais c'est des enfoirés.
The sorcerer fidgets, and you notice a thin dagger resting in his palm. He slices away a bit of rope, then looks at you, eyebrows raised.
Est-ce qu'il a déjà frotté un Adaïde?
Godwoken? Ah, seems Gareth is getting better at keeping his secrets after all.
He lunges towards you, just as the hanging sorcerer
Très bien. Toi, tu te... Oh yeah. Oula. Électrocution en chaîne. Oh putain, le sac à merde. Non mais t'as fait popper des anéants, t'es con. T'aurais pas dû faire ça. Enfin. Bon, Loche. Tu vas... Allez.
Awesome. What a show of sauce. You'd give Hanag a run for her money.
Je suis meilleur qu'Anag.
He pauses a moment, and the amazement fades from his face.
Tous en train de mourir.
On your way here, did you see my family by chance? My aunt and uncle, my cousins, little Henrik?
Mais si je sais, t'es con ou quoi?
Gwydion exhales slowly.
I have to go. They're in danger. If they're still...
The sorcerer waves goodbye, revealing the rope burns on his wrist from where he'd been bound and hanged.
Bon, ok, c'est pas grave. On va juste attendre que ça arrête de brûler de partout. Ok, il s'est barré. Ok. Rien, pas trop.
Oh dear gods, I'm sorry. So sorry. I'm glad I still have people I can call family. But I know we can't stay here. The Magisters, they'll come back. They always do. So, farewell. Oh, and take this. You'll make better use of it than I ever could.
He responds with a weak shrug.
Okay.
Away from here. Away from Driftwood, away from Arx. Away from all of this. I'd ask
Ça
her,
marche.
but it seems she's deserted me. Deserted my family. I have no idea where she disappeared to. Maybe it's best, I don't know.
He turns wordlessly and takes his first steps towards a new life.
You're alive! Thank the seven!
Bague de cœur magique, dague runique, manteau de conjuration. Sympa. Pantalon d'écaille en os.
Did?
Oh,
Look at me!
sympa.
We can be strong again! We have to be.
On va prendre ça. Accepté. Est-ce qu'on peut... Ok. Ah non, putain, ils embarquent le... D'accord. Bonjour, bonjour.
Peers up at you inquisitively as she makes her slow path across the beach.
Smells good, eh? Smells so good. Can you smell it?
De la viande crue. De moi? Je suis pas à manger, hein. Je suis pas à manger.
Quartermistress Anna, saint of a woman, sometimes throws me some dinner. Now I smell so much in that building over there. I can
C'est la merde, hein.
hear it too, covered with flies. My favorite adds a bit of crunch.
Des tortues vraiment étranges à avoir joué à un jeu dans ce sens vraiment.
Void-woken turtles. Oh dearie me. No.
Ok.
No. That wouldn't be my style at all.
Ok.
But each to their own. I say, we're all odd in our own ways.
C'est pas faux.
Look at you, a god-woken, hanging out on the beach, talking to a turtle. What's that all about?
The turtle nods her head sagely and tremulously turns to resume her dignified procession towards dinner.
Très bien, très bien, très bien, très bien. Bah écoute. On va venir là. Genre. D'ailleurs. À moi.
As the sauce flows into your bones, you feel a sudden gloom. Your helmet starts to twist and warp. Darkness pours from it, and a demon steps out from your shadow.
Hell's teeth, it feels good to breathe mortal air again. I can smell your putrid lives, your unlife. All my senses deceive me. An undead. How interesting. How delicious.
Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça?
But not as sweet as the sauce you fed me. That rich ambrosia. Life's cloying nectar. I've been held in that helmet for centuries. Just one trick of many Brachus Rex has performed in this execrable island. I'd hoped it was the God King who had summoned me. But no matter. You may still be of use. I've had but a taste of sauce, and these have been hungry years. The one who will fulfill the covenant. 'Tis a pity Baracus did not live to see that day. To feel his own pale marrow drained from his brittle bones. With a single gesture, Brachus Rex could raise an army. Yet he could not have done so had he not stood on the shoulders of giants. But enough talk. I need more. I need your sauce. I need your life undead.
Alors non. Krill le broyeur. Tu vas te faire pourrir en fait. D'un coup. Coup de fouet. Tac. Bisous. Genre.
The silent watcher smiles at you. Closer inspection reveals the wide rictus grin to be nothing more than red ragged scars ripped into the corners of his mouth. Two white magisters are discussing the fate of three magically bound captives. Captives clad in the dark shroud of the Black Ring. Noticing your arrival, the magisters step back and take hold of their weapons.
You? Ah, yes, I remember your face from Driftwood. The fool that refused to shake my hand. Shouldn't have come here, you silly little
Le
sod.
voilà, lui, d'accord.
Indeed. And your presence is most unwelcome. None of your business.
There you have it.
The two magisters whistle up their source hounds and advance upon you, deadly intent darkening their expressions.
Voilà, anti-source avec une baliste. Lol. Vas-y, roule. Alors là, tu vas me faire boule de feu. Ici, ça pourrait pas mal. Merde. Ok, on va s'occuper de tout le reste après toi.
The rat scurries nearer to the corpses and bares its fangs at you with a protective hiss.
Je vous surveille. Oui, oui, pas de soucis. Pour récolter mon butin. Non, pas de soucis. Non, mais le petit rat affamé nourri, ils ont besoin de prendre des forces à cet âge-là. Oh, pas de soucis. Oups.
The spirit sways from foot to foot, as if dazed from a fist fight. He looks right through you, hollow eyes empty and endless, the fugilin colour of the void. The tiniest glimmer of light flickers in them, then dies out. Gazing into his eyes, you see the tiny spark of source flicker again. Catching it like a pearl, you see a reflection on its surface. The spirit as a younger man. You see him joining the Black Ring, zealous and proud. You see his commander, a shadowy, horrifying figure that seems to flit in and out of existence. You see the recruit's determined eyes, heading for battle with the magisters. You see him captured by Dallas, chained and leashed. You see him deep in a cave, using source to break through a magical barrier, trying, failing, trying again, failing in exhaustion. The source pearl you gaze into grows dark and disappears. You are left with the endless blackness, blacker than black, of the spirit's depthless eyes.
Je vais pas lui slurper la source, parce que c'est absolument pas le but ici.
The Aeteran. It spoke to me, called me to it. But I can't sense it anymore. Where is it? Oh, where could it be?
The spirit gazes around, clearly looking for something, but does not register your presence at all. The spirit grins as he sees you, a grin that contains madness, or something as close to it as makes no difference.
So, are you a servant to the king, here to bring me back? So, what are you waiting for? Bring me back. Come on. What are you, a novice? Bring me back.
He raises his arms to a cruciform and tilts his head back, laughing like the damned, as his very essence is drained away into your source.
Oh la merde.
Her hands clasped together, the spirit of a woman mumbles silent prayers to herself. Unseen hands force her to her knees. Her lips move more rapidly. There's a faint sound next to you, like an echo, the metallic rasp of a sword being unsheathed. Your hand passes through the spirit, but with a little resistance. For a moment, you connect with her. The woman's spirit seems to sense it also. She looks up, oddly serene, and locks eyes with you. Her lips part to say
les
something.
apaiser sans les slurper, sauf l'autre barjot là.
Am I dead? Are you a god?
An echoing swish heralds a blur of silver passing through the spirit's neck, back to front. Her head topples forward, followed by the rest of her a brief moment later. The spirit of a dwarf raises his fists against an unseen foe. He silently curses at them and throws a punch. The spirit strikes out at thin air near the cell door. The spirit pivots, sensing another assailant. He draws a fist back again, and suddenly freezes, his back arching in silent agony. He sinks to his knees, otherworldly silver blood blossoming from a wound between his shoulder blades. The spirit of a man cowers on the floor of the cell, his head tucked down. An unseen hand yanks his head up by the hair. His wide, panicked eyes find his tormentor. His lips part to plead. But before he can, a slash opens across his throat. Ghostly silver sprays forth. His eyes bulge. He clutches his hands around his neck and pitches forward to the ground, twitching. The spirit of an elven woman holds her palms upward. A hesitant, peacemaking gesture, she steps forward and suddenly jerks to a halt. One of her hands moves to her stomach. It comes away, coated in a silvery spectral blood. She looks right through you, to her murderer. Her expression drowns in confusion and shock. Her knees buckle. She drops to the floor, soundlessly.
Help me! Careful. It might still be here. I think I made it angry.
Rejeton du néon fluorescent. Ah! Un canari.
Danger! Don't go! Bad bird! Hanging from a branch, with its wings spread wide and a terrible squawk! Don't go! Great big screeching bird! There it goes! It doesn't even hop down to see the buddies!
The hen gives you a panicked nod. Before you lies the hulking, broken ruins of eternal technology. It's familiar, but after so long feels strangely alien too. Despite the damage, you can make out the faint pulse of esoteric energy, a pulse that quickens as you approach. As your palms press into the warm stone, you feel the depths of your being crack open. Your power flows from you into the relic, yet a reverse current flows back into you with a new power, a different power. The stone warms and warms until it is suddenly too hot to touch, forcing you to remove your hands and step back.
Eternal armor could be very useful. Very useful indeed.
Okay.
The Magister wipes his blooded face with a grimy rag as he strides towards you. Eyes narrowing with suspicion, he halts several feet away, one hand on the hilt of his weapon.
De rien.
And you are...
Attends.
Good thing I didn't bother cleaning my blade yet.
Bah écoute, vu que t'as l'air d'aimer ça...
I'll yield to none.
You recognize the design. The pedestal is from your own era, made by your own people. Empty now, it once supported something powerful, something now missing.
Merde.
If this is what Dallas was looking for, then she has claimed her prize.
An empty pedestal in the design of my people. Whatever lay here, it was important. And if it was important, odds are it was extremely dangerous.
You stare at the artifact in amazement. Even though it's broken and suffering from centuries of neglect, there's no mistaking it for what it is. Eternal technology. Looking close, you see that it may be broken, but it's not dead. Its ancient hunger calls to you. It yearns for source. As your fingertips brush the cool stone, you feel the depths of your being crack open. Your power flows from you into the relic, yet a reverse current flows back into you with a new power, a different power. A sharp electrical shock repels your hands from the stone and sends you staggering backwards.
A recipe to craft Mask of the Shaken.
Oh, tu vas empoisonner les sacs à merde.
The tablet is marked on all sides with eternal runic inscriptions, but they look like they were hacked into indecipherability with a chisel.
Qu'est-ce qu'ils ont foutu?
As your fingertips trace these mutilated runes, your eyes flicker closed of their own accord. You see nothingness, vast, dark, and empty. You sense something ancient watching you, perusing you like a prison guard would watch a wayward ant scuttling across the floor of a cell. From within the endless emptiness, a strangely familiar voice hums into being and calls to you. God-woken. Fane. You sense an interest within the cold voice addressing you. Beyond the interest, you sense fangs, voracious hunger, a bottomless appetite that no sustenance could ever sate. You see your life flash before your eyes, every memory flitting by like a moth's wings at a lantern. The vision reaches the present moment and diverges into multiple strands, impossible to keep track of. Your brain aches with the effort of trying to keep up with the intelligence as it sifts through your every potential future. You see salvation and destruction and every shade of existence in between. And all of a sudden, it's over. Blackness rises once more, just as it was at the start. Eternal darkness and you. An electric feeling pulses in your fingertips, and a force field of some kind pushes you away from the tablet.
It's active. Even after all these years, it's still active. Now, if only I knew what the hell it was doing.
Your fingertips burn so hot, it feels like they are melting. An energy seems to travel between the tablet and your hands, sparking knowledge. Looking down at the tablet, you feel the words inscribed there etched into your very marrow. One must rise. You feel a connection pulsing from the stone, a tether stretching back millennia. You hear nothing, but you can feel the screams.
Okay. Yep.
Then your fingers grow cold to the bone. Suddenly, you are just a person stand.
Domination mentale. What the fuck, c'est quoi ça? Ah, là.
The spirit's memory, in its madness, dances in your mind. You are a sensate, deaf and mute, but gifted with an unnatural ability. Dallas seeks you out and brings you here into the darkness. When the blindfold falls, Dallas bids you find and free a secret power.
Okay.
You close your eyes, and you feel the presence of a hidden truth. You point at it and open your eyes. You are pointing at Dallas. The hammer calmly bids you try again, then steps back into the shadows. You close your eyes once more. Now the vault before you sings to you. You raise your hand to it. It opens to your touch. From the vault, you take a sword. It's weightless, yet it feels extremely powerful. More powerful even than Dallas herself, and yet fragile. A hand falls upon your shoulder. A blade crosses your throat. Blood pours. Dallas whispers, "Good girl," and then all goes quickly dark.
Oh la salope. Non, toi.
Folding his arms across his chest, the Magister stares at you with baleful eyes. One by one, he points at the dead Voidwoken, the dead Magisters, the dead Silent Watchers.
Bah, c'est toi qui m'as attaqué, connard.
Your end comes, sorcerer, just as it came for them and for me. Freedoman guided the excavation rightly. Soon, Dallas will use the Aetherin on you. And then you will be the sorcerer no longer.
He says nothing, only twists his lip bitterly as he echoes, pointing at the dead. Va
chier. Ah, une poule. Esprit de canari.
I tried to warn them, but would they listen? I'm no canary, but I know bad news when I see it. And what do I get? I'm dead in a cage. Bugger them all.
Il y a un guetteur silencieux là-haut. Ok. Ah, putain, d'accord, ok. C'est pour avoir accès au truc là derrière. Sauf que ça, c'est chez moi, ici. Mais alors, pourquoi ils sont morts? Putain, en revanche, je vais aller manger. On va faire une sauvegarde et je vais filer manger. J'avais pas du tout vu l'heure. Du coup, je reviens.